So it's finally time to get into a unboxing video that a lot of you guys have been waiting on, and that of course is going to be the Piscifun ALIJOS, and I guess that's how you say the name of this reel, but we're just gonna dive right on into it. Alright, you got your paperwork. I guess this, what is this, a sticker? I saw a tool under there. Piece of metal. Yep, looks like you get some kind of tool. It looks like a tool that's similar to the tool you used to get with your SHIMANO bait casters, and you don't anymore. There's the box, and let's check this reel out. Look at that. This is a good looking reel. Man, look at that. Got the big Piscifun logo. I'm pretty speechless. Palm's really nice. Check this reel out, guys. It's this, I guess, black and red finish, and there's just enough red to really set off the shiny black paint. As you can see, it's got a huge, very deep spool. But yeah, I am going to study this thing. I already studied the specs on Piscifun's website, but I'm going to study this thing and take some notes down, and we'll be right back. So after re-reviewing the specs on this reel, playing around with some of the features, and mounting it on my swim bait rod, I'm going to go out on a limb here and make a pretty bold statement, and that statement is that the Piscifun ALIJOS 300 is probably the biggest reel bargain of all time. And I know that's saying something. And to back this statement up, we're going to compare this reel with the only other swim bait reel that I have, the new CURADO 300K. That's a good time to compare the size between these two quote-unquote 300 size reels, and you can see the ALIJOS is noticeably bigger, and it's got a much bigger and deeper spool. It's also wider. But I think the ALIJOS actually might be lower profile. It looks like it to me, because when I mounted it on the swim bait rod, it felt very comfortable, and that's due to the fact that, you know, it is very low profile for a swim bait reel. The side plate is very flat and smooth, no sharp edges, nothing protruding, and your thumb sits naturally right in this little indentation here, or this little depression on the top plate. So yeah, it feels very good to palm, and I have, you know, medium to large size hands, so you can see that and kind of gauge how the ALIJOS will palm for you. Alright, so let's get to the comparison. Now, both of these reels have aluminum frames, but the ALIJOS also has an aluminum handle side plate. So aluminum frame that has got a, I guess, a matte satin finish, and then the side plates are this glossy deep black, and the handle side plate is aluminum. Now the CURADO has aluminum for the frame, but the side plates are graphite, even the handle side plate. Now the ALIJOS features a total of 9 bearings, so 8 ball bearings and 1 roller bearing, while the CURADO has only 6. So once again, advantage goes to the ALIJOS. The ALIJOS features what they call the Hamai cut brass gear and pinion, and it is very smooth turning this handle. Now it does not feel quite as powerful as the CURADO when turning the handle, because Shimano, they cut their own gears and they're known as a gear company. And it also could be a difference in the thickness of the handle, because the CURADO seems to have a thicker handle and different flatter knobs versus the ALIJOS. But the ALIJOS is very, very smooth. But the CURADO feels so far like it has a little bit more cranking power. Now, speaking of knobs, Piscifun actually gives you the option of having, the standard handle with 2 power knobs. And I have to say, these EVA knobs are super, super soft. They feel like velvet. And once again, this is a $99 reel, and I bring that up because I distinctly remember unboxing the LEWS BB1 Pro a couple of years ago. That reel came with power EVA knobs, and those knobs were rough, super rough. But these knobs are super, super soft. And Piscifun actually also gives you the option, if you want, to get a single power handle. So that's a nice touch, and I don't think that's an option in the CURADO 300. I think it's only an option in the Tranks if you want to get that for Shimano. Now the ALIJOS comes in 2 gear ratios. They have a super high speed 8.1:1, and then they also have the slower 5.9:1, which is what I got. And these gear ratios are color coded. The 8.1:1 I believe is orange and gray, while the 5.9 obviously is red and black. So that's a nice touch there. Now, an area where the ALIJOS absolutely kills the CURADO is going to be drag power. Now with Shimano, the CURADO 300 as well as the Tranks 300, which is much more expensive, has a stopping power of either 18 or 22 pounds of drag, depending on the gear ratio. But the ALIJOS just absolutely laughs at that number, because Piscifun says that this reel has a whopping 33 pounds of drag stopping power. So that is huge. So this reel could definitely do some inshore light ocean fishing, and I may just put that to the test because I plan on going to Florida here in the next few weeks, and I might do some saltwater fishing with this thing. But yeah, a whopping 33 pounds of drag. Now, I'm not sure how that compares to other swim bait reels, but I believe the new TATULA has like 28 or something like that, maybe more, but for 99 bucks, that is a lot of drag stopping power. Now, the ALIJOS has a magnetic brake system with a total of, 30 total settings adjustable from this external dial. And of course it clicks. You can see it has that little red indicator. While of course the CURADO is using that very basic old school 6-pin Shimano VBS centrifugal brake system that you have to open up to adjust. So once again, advantage goes to the Piscifun, at least for that external adjustment component. Okay, so that's just the specs on this reel. Now let's go over some of the features. Now, we have a clicking drag star. That's pretty standard on pretty much any reel today. Now, it is made of plastic, kind of disappointing. As you can see, it's ported. But the drag star, that's not a item that receives a lot of pressure fighting fish. Now, of course, on the CURADO, you got your machined metal aluminum drag star. Now you get a spool tension knob that clicks. Very muted clicks. Don't know if you guys can hear that, but it clicks nonetheless. And you can see it's got that little indicator dot as well as the Piscifun logo. It is black with a red top. So very nice looking spool tension knob, especially considering the price of this reel. And you can see it's got this nice aluminum trim around the handle side plate, red and black. And let's check out the thumb bar. Now the thumb bar is chrome plated, which makes it look pretty high end, but you can see it's got this little indented section, or this depressed section, where they put a piece of rubber, textured rubber, for grip. So that is very, very nice. Nice wide flat thumb bar. Very solid feeling when you depress the thumb bar, as you can probably hear. Now it does move a little bit, but I don't think that's going to be an issue. And here's another feature that some of you swimbait guys who have this reel might want to chime in on. Is you can see when I press the thumb bar, this little thing pops up right here. So Piscifun designed that so where you don't have to turn the crank to engage the thumb bar. So I'm not sure how that's an advantage in the swimbait world, but it is there nonetheless. Cool little feature. Now let's check out this spool. As you can see, it is super deep, super wide, and it holds more line than the CURADO 300. But it's got this little pin that they put in the center there that you can just straight tie your mono on, and they say it eliminates the need for a braid backing. So I'm not sure why you don't just use straight mono anyway, but yeah, they got that little pin there you can tie your knot onto. That's a cool little feature. And another thing that they spoke about is the fact that the level line is supported by 2 shafts. So you got your one right here on top, and then you got your other one right here. The level line is definitely something that could be under pressure fighting a big fish, while the CURADO looks like, yeah, it looks like it only has one. So that's a nice feature for the ALIJOS. Okay, so back to the statement that the ALIJOS is probably the biggest reel bargain of all time, and that's because the CURADO 300 is $200, while the ALIJOS is less than half that at $99. Can you believe you get all this in a swimbait reel for $99? That is ridiculous. In fact, I was on Tackle Warehouse's website comparing this reel to other reels that have similar specs, and they all cost at least $200 to get an aluminum frame and aluminum handle side plate. And in fact, when you compare the ALIJOS to some of the cheaper swimbait reels like the KASTKING capstan and the LEWS Super Duty GX3 or something like that, those reels cost anywhere from $30 to $40 more than the ALIJOS, but they have a graphite frames and side plates. So that is just incredible what you get for only 99 bucks on this swimbait reel. Now that's really important because just like with bait finesse, you know, swim baiting is a very specialized fishing technique, and a lot of guys don't want to get into it and have to spend, you know, hundreds and hundreds of dollars to get decent equipment that will perform. So yeah, this definitely should be your first swimbait reel should you decide to get into the swimbait game. So with all that being said, it's time to pull the scale out and get some weights and measurements on this reel. Okay guys, so I got the scale out and we're going to go ahead and get some weights on these reels, starting off with the CURADO 300. 10.69 ounces, so pretty much 10.7 ounces. Alright, so the ALIJOS feels about the same, but let's see what the scale says. Now, it is a bigger reel. It looks like it's having a hard time fitting on the scale. But there we go, 10.18 ounces. And let's try to change the angle here to see if it gives us a different weight. Nope, pretty much the same, 10.18, so about 10.2 ounces, so about half an ounce more than the CURADO 300. And I guess that's acceptable given the size difference and the fact that the ALIJOS has an aluminum handle side plate while the CURADO does not. And in fact, the weight of the ALIJOS is pretty much right on par with the Tranx 300, which also has an aluminum handle side plate as well. So let's pull these spools out and get a weight and compare them. Okay, so I got the scale set to grams, and to access the ALIJOS spool, it's pretty old school. It reminds me of the earlier REVOs and LEWS, and you do that by unscrewing this top screw here, and I believe you twist the side plate, yep, downwards, and here we go. So here we see the basic MagTrack style magnetic system for the ALIJOS. Looks like it's got a total of 8 magnets, and of course this magnet assembly moves closer or farther away from the spool by turning this dial. And you have a lot of metal here to conduct magnetic current for this ALIJOS, so I don't think that this reel will have any problems in breaking. But yeah, let's take a look at this spool. It's really deep, long spool shaft. And let's go ahead and pull out the spool on this CURADO, and let's do a comparison. So looks to me like the CURADO has a much bigger diameter spool, and it's pretty obvious when I turn them this way. So this is supposed to be a 43mm diameter spool, so this it's got to be somewhere in the 36 to 38mm range. So actually pretty small for a swim bait reel, but you can see that the ALIJOS spool is wider and it is deeper. And according to Piscifun, it does hold a little bit more line than the CURADO 300 as well. Now they feel like they weigh about the same. Maybe the ALIJOS feels a little lighter, but they both have spool bearings and they look to be the same size spool bearing. And in fact, I just noticed that on the CURADO. I don't think I mentioned that on the CURADO unboxing video. Maybe I did, but the spool on the CURADO, 27.7 grams with the bearing. And the ALIJOS, 24.7, so about 3 grams less. So definitely an advantage for the ALIJOS in the spool weight department. Not that it would really matter throwing big swim baits, but as you can see, the CURADO does feature the more archaic 6-pin brake system that you have to open up the side plate to adjust, while of course you can adjust the magnets on the outside with the ALIJOS. So of course these weights and numbers are purely academic, just for informational purposes only, and I'm wondering if that'll make a difference out on the water. So to conclude the unboxing and analysis of the Piscifun ALIJOS, once again, I just can't believe how much reel you get for only 99 bucks. In fact, to get similar specs to this reel from more mainstream brands, you have to spend a minimum of 2 to 3 times more money, and still probably not get all the features you get with the ALIJOS. And in fact, a lot of swimbait guys have messaged me in the comment section of my videos telling me that this reel is legit. Now I'm not sure what the best-selling swimbait reel is, because it looks like in the swimbait community their focus is not on the rods and reels like we do in the bait finesse community. They focus on the baits themselves. So if you're a swimbait guy, tell me what is the best-selling swimbait reel out on the market. And yeah, I guess the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to spool this ALIJOS up. I'm gonna mount it on the swim bait rod, and I'm gonna cast this thing around and do a little back-to-back comparison versus the CURADO to see if we can see any kind of casting differences, power differences, cranking differences, etc., etc. But I'm very looking forward to doing that on the water comparison, and that's coming up in a future video. Alright guys, there we go. Probably the biggest reel bargain of all time, the Piscifun ALIJOS 300. Thanks a lot.